That is St. Thomas cave. In your Gospel of St. John, they talk about this. Come in, Thomas. You have to put your hand in my flank and your fingers inside my hands. You have to be believer and not unbeliever. The Jewish in this area, they changed the name to Man Gash after St. Thomas, proclaiming the good news. Man in Aramaic language, who? In French language, celui. Touched, who is touched, was St. Thomas.
It is little known that today's troubled Iraq holds a proud biblical heritage. The Apostles Thomas and Thaddaeus introduced Christianity to the indigenous Assyrians in the 1st century AD. Thousands of churches and monasteries began dotting the plains of Mesopotamia as the faith developed. When theological questions separated the early church of the 5th century into East and West, Syriac-speaking missionaries were already traveling along trade routes to evangelize as far east as India and China. Iraq was also home to the Hebrew faith. In the town of Al-Kosh, the remains of the Old Testament prophet Nahum are watched over by locals. Up until 1948, pilgrims from Jerusalem would visit the site every year. Rising high above Al-Kosh, the St. Hormizd Monastery is witness to Iraq's Christian heritage. The pious Nestorian monk Hormizd founded the monastery around 640 AD. In its heyday, it could accommodate up to 500 monks. Individual cells chiseled in the rock face are perched in almost inaccessible places. The monastery remains an important place for the Chaldean Church. After the Muslim conquest of Persia and Byzantium in the 7th century, many Christians played vital roles in their communities as scholars or doctors. Most notable among them in the emerging Muslim world was Timothy I, Patriarch of the Nestorian Church of the East. He regularly mingled among the court of the Caliph and helped to fill the famous House of Wisdom library in Baghdad with translations of medical and scientific writings, as well as translations of Aristotle and other ancient scholars. As Mongol hordes ravaged the area in the 13th century, Christianity began suffering what would become her passion in the region. Persecution and sometimes massacres became more frequent in the subsequent centuries under Islamic domination, gradually reducing the ancient community further into a minority status.
If one picks up a handful of earth from the ground, one can almost smell the blood of our faithful. It is a shame that this land has so easily been given into the hands of another. I take it as my mission to say that Iraq is my land, and that every Iraqi Christian should be proud of their country.
Formerly part of the Ottoman Empire, Iraq was occupied by Britain during the course of World War I. It regained its independence in 1932 when it became a kingdom. the Arab nationalist Ba'ath Party took power, overthrew the British-installed monarchy and proclaimed a republic in 1958. A series of dictators governed the country, the last of which was Saddam Hussein, who ruled his people with an iron fist and dragged Iraq into several catastrophic wars. In 2003, Saddam Hussein's totalitarian regime was toppled by the US-led invasion of Iraq. Today, the country struggles with an armed, hostile insurgency and the violent conflicts for power exploding amongst the various political and tribal factions.
Our situation, it is not good, because we don't have peace, we don't have security. Every week we have some of these explosions of auto-bombed cars, of kamikazes, of other things exploding and killing the poor people. For that, people that live in Baghdad are living this bad situation.
The problem is security. There is a vacuum. The army and the police are not at a level to protect people. They are not well trained. They are sectarian, Muslim for Muslim, Kurds to help Kurds, Shiite, much more for Shiite, Sunnite for Sunnite. If there is no security, you cannot work, and you are always in danger, your life in danger.
One of the most horrific tragedies to befall the Christian community of Iraq following the overthrow of Saddam Hussein came in late October 2010 at Our Lady of Salvation Syriac Catholic Church in Baghdad. A video posted on YouTube, recorded in the aftermath, shows Iraqi forces freeing the hostages. Armed assailants affiliated with Al-Qaeda took 100 worshippers hostage while they gathered for Sunday Mass. During rescue operations, the terrorists opened fire and detonated several bombs, killing 58 people, including 2 priests, and leaving scores more injured.
This is Father Thayer, and this is Father Wasim. When the terrorists broke into the church, Father Wasim faced them and stand in front of them. So he asked them, why you want to kill us? Because we also believe in the God. We believe in God, and all of us, we have one God. They said, you are a blasphemous. When they went to kill Father Thayer tried to save all the little children and ladies and other people who were in the church. I talked to many of them. They said, really, what we felt it was more than the hell.
The Christian experience in Iraq has deteriorated significantly. Reports released in 2012 showed that over the past 8 years, 71 churches were attacked, most of them bombed, 44 of them in Baghdad and 19 in Mosul. Nearly 600 Christians have been killed in religious and politically motivated attacks. The dead include 17 priests. 2 bishops were kidnapped. One of them, Archbishop Paulos Faraja Rach of Mosul, died in captivity. In most cases, those responsible for the crimes said they wanted to rid the country of Christians.
This mentality is still present, that the attack against Christians is there. This kind of attacks usually results in thinking seriously about immigrating the country. The responsibility of the government is to do more about this subject. We will always ask and urge the Muslim clerics to speak about these issues with their people, and trying to make it quite clear that these kind of acts and attacks and violence, it's against humanity, and it's not giving the right picture also about Islam. What has been done, it's not enough.
In the Middle East, there is a movement now. They are calling it the spring of the Arab countries, but really it is not the spring, because behind that we are feeling through the slogans and also the actions, there is something of fundamentalism, the Islamization. This is a way they are trying to build an Islamic state built upon al-Sharia as it was in the 7th century. And this is very bad for us. It doesn't work. We are in the 21st century. The mentality has changed. Tradition, the world also has changed. They have to be integrated into the modern society, but they don't like because they are afraid to lose their identity. We cannot accept it because the only standard should be citizenship, not religion. There are many religions, Christians, Muslim, Yazidi, Shebek, Mandait, and so on. The society is pluralist today, and we cannot have just one color.
The Christian community of Mosul was devastated almost totally following the war. Before the fall of Saddam Hussein, Mosul was home to one of the largest populations of Christians in Iraq. Some 35,000 Christians lived side by side with Muslims. Today, these numbers have dwindled to roughly 3,000. Systematic attacks, like the 2004 bombing of the Chaldean bishop's residence, have left this ancient community in ruins. Christians in Mosul have encountered inconceivable violence. Many have lost their lives because of their faith. Among them, a young priest, Father Iraqi Christian, was gunned down in 2007, not far from his church. In March 2008, Archbishop Nona's predecessor in Mosul, the Most Reverend Paulus Faraj Arajo, was kidnapped and murdered by Islamic extremists. Father Pius Afas was born and raised in Mosul. In 2007, he and another priest were kidnapped at gunpoint by 4 young men.
La première chose qu'on a fait, c'est qu'on s'est donné l'absolution.
The first thing we did was to give each other the sacrament of reconciliation. For my young friend, it was the first time he had confessed another priest. I also gave him confession as we prepared to die. When this deeply emotional ritual was complete, a serenity overwhelmed us.
Profonde, on est devenu très calme.
Father Pius Afas and his colleague were released 9 days later after a ransom was paid. Money, however, is not the leading motive of the atrocities carried out against Mosul's Christians.
There exist Islamic fundamentalist groups who consider Mosul and Iraq as belonging to Islam. They don't want any other religion here. That is why Christians are persecuted and even killed.
The Archbishop's residence was moved to a small family home after the former location was devastated by the 2004 bomb attack. The streets leading to the current bishopric are barricaded, with a military patrol guarding each entrance. Archbishop Nona lives here with 4 of his priests.
So far, there are many people who ask me, "Are you still in Mosul?" I say yes, because of my faith, my feelings, and my duty. I can feel the need of the people for a priest. Our presence is a strength for people and fills their hearts with comfort and encouragement. I am witness to this by my visits to the people in every church I serve.
For For Archbishop Nona and his priests, it is difficult to talk of the future. Their mission is to provide their faithful with hope by remaining with them despite the threats and violence.
Le radici della speranza sono la fede.
At the root of hope is faith. Our Christian faith always gives us hope where there is pain. In darkness, there is always a light somewhere. There is always hope. We are filled with hope that the Lord is with us, that our Christian life and our faith deserves this kind of sacrifice. Our Christian faith is, according to us, our life. It is everything to us.
Secondo noi la nostra vita è tutta.
Over the last decade, immigration has gradually drained the life from this peaceful Iraqi minority. Although Christians once comprised only 2% of Iraq's population, the UN High Commission for Refugees reports that they make up 40% of the 1.6 million Iraqis in search of asylum abroad. Their number has plummeted from approximately 900,000 before the invasion down to approximately 200,000 today. Amman, capital of the Hashimi Kingdom of Jordan, has become a safe haven for many Christians seeking a home outside of Iraq. Families wait here for months and sometimes years to emigrate to America or other Western countries. Living conditions are often destitute and work is difficult to find. Father Khalil Jar runs the Messengers of Peace, a Catholic NGO which aids Iraqi families during their time of transition, regardless of their faith. With donations collected during Sunday services, he's able to provide food packages to about 50 families every week.
It's very difficult. They are living in a fear because they know that any moment they could be sent back to Iraq. And to be sent to Iraq, that means to be sent to the death, to the big question mark, because they left everything in Baghdad. So really they are suffering, these people. For me, the most important thing is these families, to support them, just to know that your brothers in faith are suffering. And they need your help. They need your prayer. They need your support.
My concern is that those who leave their country risk losing their identity, because here they have their culture, their roots. Here they have their language. The Chaldean Church has their patriarchate in Iraq. Therefore, I wonder whether or not the diaspora will maintain the identity of these churches for 1, 2, perhaps 3 generations, but longer.
Of those who remain in Iraq, many have been internally displaced. The northern semi-autonomous region of Kurdistan is a safe haven for many Catholics from the large metropolitan areas of Baghdad, Mosul and Basra. In recent years, new villages like Dawudiyah are being built throughout the countryside. Here, Christians enjoy far greater safety and basic housing, but little else.
Most of the families in this village come from Baghdad. After all the turmoil there, the very difficult times, many of the families came here to Dawudiyah. But unfortunately, there is little work here to maintain a decent life. Many of those who came originally have left, but we don't want people to leave Iraq. We want to find work for them. This is their village now, their land, their country.
Leur village, leur terre, leur patrie.
Families who have fled metropolitan areas like Mosul or Baghdad are struggling to make ends meet in the countryside, where farming and related skills are essential livelihoods. Many of these families will abandon the haven they have found here for brighter economic opportunities in the West. Erbil, the capital of Iraq's Kurdish north, has welcomed the greatest number of Christians since 2003. The area has seen great investment and growth. Safety is not a concern, and families who move here have a good chance of finding work. The Christian population in Ankawa, a suburb of Erbil, has increased from just over 8,500 in the mid-90s to more than 25,500 today.
Until 2003, it was a normal diocese of around 1,500 families. After 2004, and when the violence started in Baghdad and Mosul and Kirkuk and Basra against the Christians, many fled these provinces to the outside country. Since then, it's a very growing diocese. This massive immigration have put upon us a lot of pastoral pressure. We feel that there is a need for at least 3 new churches. We've started also building a new primary school in the hope that we could also later on continue with another secondary school. Along with that, and trying to promote the Catholic social teaching, we would love to also to start soon the construction at the Adiabina Hospital, which will provide a decent medical service for the people around the area.
For the Christian population who hold on to their homeland despite the constant threat of attack or death, a hope that Iraq can overcome conflict and division gives them strength. This hope can be found in sincere efforts made over the years by church leaders to foster a Christian and Muslim dialogue in order to enhance the culture of diversity and mutual respect.
I was rather surprised at the wonderful reception we had here in Bashika. In front of me, I saw not only Christian faces from our Syriac Catholic Church or the Orthodox Church, but there are also faces of the Yazidi and Muslim clerics. And not outside our church, but inside, during a small ceremony.
We have a lot of relationships with the imams, the religious authorities, and also politicians. We are helping all the groups to sit together and also to dialogue, not to fight each other. During the Ramadan time, for Muslim, I am offering a dinner for more than 200 people, religious authorities and others. They are getting together and speaking to each other, and this is not possible outside the church. Even the mayor of the city said the only one can help us and unite us is the church.
Moi, je suis optimiste. Bien que la situation n'est pas claire.
I am an optimist, despite the fact that our situation is not clear, that our surroundings are not always peaceful. I have hope that the country will start fresh again. There are people who are working for this with all sincerity, to bring back dignity and prosperity, so that the people can live comfortably and joyously. I remain, with regard to this, an optimist. Christians here should be in dialogue with everyone in order to be like the leaven for the bread, or the light in the darkness, to set a good example.
There is no one in the world, if he or she looks at his mother is suffering and he or she does not do anything for her. So I want to make something for the church, because it is exactly my my mother. The hope that makes me to go ahead is the hope of the resurrection. This hope makes me always to look for the life in a positive way, even if there are many bad things in my life. But the hope of the resurrection convert all the negative things to be positive things.
Today, more than ever, the suffering Church of Iraq needs the support of the world if it is to survive this unprecedented exodus. The courage and determination of those who remain to rebuild a peaceful future gives witness to a tremendous faith that has survived millennia.